This video is strictly for educational purposes only. All the attacks were performed in a controlled virtual lab environment. So we are carrying out this entire set of attacks using virtual machines in an isolated private network. The presenter is not responsible for any misuse of the information presented in this video and does not support any malicious hacking activities. Hacking systems is a cybercrime and will land you in prison if you misuse such tools or systems for which you don't have permission. Before starting off with the demonstration on Metasploit, I just wanted to share with you a few more terminologies that we'll be using with Metasploit. That is R hosts and R port, L hosts and L port. So I told you we have our attacking machine, that is Kali Linux, which comes pre-installed with Metasploit framework, and we have our vulnerable Linux machine which is running the Metasploitable 2. Now, what do you mean by R hosts? R hosts are nothing but remote hosts. So I'll be running Metasploit framework from this specific attacking system, Kali Linux. So when I say R host is the vulnerable machine, a remote host. So what is a remote host here? Say if this IP is 192.168.56.103, the remote host I'm referring to from Kali Linux will be my victim with this IP address. So remote host is nothing but, here we refer to the victim machine. And what do you mean by R port? It is nothing but a remote port. So it's nothing but a port. Say it can be port 80 on this specific victim machine. So this is remote with respect to the attacker. So this is the remote port. This is the remote host IP address. What is hell host? Hell host is nothing but local host, and L port is nothing but local port. So what is the local host? It's the machine that's running the Kali Linux. So it's our attacker, it's the attacking system. So if my Kali Linux IP is 192.168.56.102, what is the IP of my local host? It is the IP of my Kali Linux machine. And local port, say I told you, you can have a reverse connection, reverse bind shell. That is, we can open a port here and we can be listening for certain actions from our victim. Say if the victim clicks on a file or he keys in certain keys, then we'll be getting that info here using a local port. So this port, we call that to be a local port, and the local host is nothing but the host that runs the Metasploit framework. I hope you're now clear with the terminologies R host, R port, L host, L port. We'll be using that with uh, we'll be using this in the demonstration now. Let's go to the demo. So as I told you, I have two machines running in my virtual box. One is Kali Linux and another one is this Metasploitable 2, which is my victim system. And let me log into Metasploitable 2. The username is msfadmin, password is msfadmin, and you can see the IP address of my victim. The IP address is shown to you. It is 192.168.56.103. So that's my victim machine. This is Metasploitable 2, which is a vulnerable Linux machine. And here is Kali Linux. Let's open the terminal here. So Kali Linux comes pre-installed with Metasploit framework. So how you can start Metasploit is you can go to the menu, and when you go to exploitation tools, there you can see Metasploit framework. You can click on it and you can run, or else you can go to the terminal. Let me zoom in. and a little more. So from here, you can run by this command sudo msf console. I've already run this, and we have to give a root password. So we're going to start up Metasploit framework now. And we have all these modules in Metasploit framework. What are those modules? We have just learned them. That is auxiliary, exploit, payload, post-exploitation, encoder, evasion modules. So we have started Metasploit, and as I told you, these are the modules. We have exploits, we have auxiliary modules, we have post-exploitation modules, we have payloads, we have encoders, we have evasion. So now let's type in some commands. The first command I'm going to run is the help command. It's just a help menu. It gives us a list of commands we have and some information about the tool. You can run through this. Let me clear the screen. And the next command that we have here is we can search. See, I can search for anything here. For instance, I want to perform port scans. I want to search for port scanners. I'll do search port scan. So it fetches me all the modules. Say here, I have a port scan which is present inside the auxiliary modules. And now if I want to know some information about a specific module, I can use the module name or else I can use the number here. See, I can type info 0 to get more information about that specific module. So info 0 here gives me information about this specific module. You can also type info auxiliary slash scanner slash port scan slash FTP bounds, but here we can go with the just the ID here, info 0. And if you want to use a specific module, you just give the command use and then 0. So you're now going to use that specific module. And from here, you can go with the options. Say, once when you're inside a module, you can go with show options. So it gives us all the options that are available with this module. So you can see the current setting and the name of the option and whether it is required or not. For instance, let me say R host. I told you R host is nothing but the remote host. So here it is a required option and the current setting is we have to give which is the remote host. See, I can set uh, R host to be my victim's IP 192. This is my Metasploitable 2 at vulnerable machines IP 56.103. So we have a set of options that we need to set before running our commands or sending the exploits. So that set of options we can see by giving in this command show options. So these are certain basic things that we'll be carrying out. Nothing to worry if you didn't understand all of these. We'll be going through auxiliary modules in detailed in our next session. So how to go back is we have to click, we have to type back, and that takes us to the previous menu. So let me clear this. Let me tell you how we can search. See, I can search for a specific type. Say I can search for an exploit. That's type is exploit. I can search for the platform. So platform is say I'm searching for Linux platform. And we can also say the common the CVID, so vulnerability exposure. So we know that every vulnerability comes with an ID. It comes with the year when this vulnerability was published. So we can also give the year of publication. See, I'm searching for type to be exploits that will be used against machines that use Linux. And that vulnerability was published in 2023. So you can very well search. See here you get uh, these are like you get exploits, you get payloads, you get I'm sorry. So we are searching for type exploits. It means that we'll get all the exploits that are available that can be used against machines that run on Linux. And this these exploits were reported for vulnerabilities that were reported in 2023. So what is that we understand here is we are searching for exploits that can exploit systems running on Linux platform for vulnerabilities reported in 2023. So you can search like that. And not only that, we see here some ranking, excellent. We also have normal, good, average, something like that. So what is the use of ranking is when it is having an excellent rank, it's going to work 100%. It's going to be fine when you attack a system using that exploit. Likewise, we have rank, we have average ranks, we have good ranks. So you can also search. Let me clear the screen. You can search for an type to be exploit, which is for this platform. Say I am going to attack systems that are using Linux, and the rank should be excellent. So we want exploits that are ranked excellent. That will work fine without any issues. So here you get a filter of all the exploits that are available with an excellent rank, and this is for machines that run using our Linux platform. I hope you're now clear with some basic commands on Metasploit. Let me show you a very quick demo on how to exploit a system that's running a vulnerable FTP service and how to really hack into the system. So let's clear screen. And for actually scanning a system, see what is my victim machine? My victim machine is Metasploitable 2. That is the IP is shown on the screen. It is 192.168.56.103. So we can very well scan a victim by using Nmap. Nmap comes built in with Metasploit framework. I'm really sorry. I'm just using Metasploit and Metasploitable 2 frequently. So let me clarify this. Metasploit is the framework which we are using for attacking this vulnerable Linux machine. And what is Metasploitable 2? It is nothing but the version of that Linux which is vulnerable Linux machine that's running here. So I'll be a little slow when using these terms from now on. So Nmap. So I'm going to perform a scan on my machine. So I'll say nmap list the services on 192. This is my victim 192.168.56.103. So it will be listing us the services that's running on our vulnerable Linux machine. So here this is telling us that all these ports are open. So that's the vulnerability, and VSFTPD 2.3.4 is a vulnerable FTP service. It's an outdated FTP service, and the ports are open. So these are the vulnerabilities that we find in this Linux machine. So we'll try and exploit this specific vulnerability. So I should search for an exploit that will help us identify or exploit this specific vulnerability. For this, let me search for VSFTPD 2. What is the service? FTP service 2.3.4. Let's search for VSFTPD 2.3.4. So here we have an exploit. I told you exploit is nothing but a piece of code that can be used for gaining unauthorized access, or it can be used for delivering payloads to our victim. So here we have an exploit that can exploit this vulnerability VSFTPD 234. And how to know more information about this vulnerability? We go with info 0. We'll use the ID here. So we'll get more information. So this module exploits a malicious backdoor that was added to the VSFTPD, download some information about that and some options and things like that. So if you're going to use this specific exploit, what is the command? Use that specific ID 0. So here we are using that specific command and you want to see the options available. So it's show options. So I told you we have to set the required options before running this. What are the required options? Remote hosts. So which victim we are going to attack. So that IP we have to give. It is required and there's no default setting here. Likewise, we should also target the remote port. See, FTP services by default run in port number 21. So the default setting is 21. If you're targeting an FTP service in some other port, then you should override this specific option. See, these two options are required. One has got the default setting as 21. So what is that we are going to set now is remote hosts alone, and the other two options are optional. So we'll go and set remote host, set our hosts. The IP of my victim is 192.168.56.103, and now what we'll do is we will set the payload. So for this we'll perform set payload and double tap to get the payload. So this is the payload that it identifies for this exploit. And now we'll just run exploit. So it says found shell and it has opened a command shell session. So this is Kali Linux 192.168.56.102 and there is a session, there's a connection that's opened on 192.168.56.103. So we were able to target this victim and we were able to use this outdated service, FTP service that was running on the victim. For this, we were searching this exploit available on Metasploit Framework and we were also able to set the payload and exploit the victim. And now we have a connection here. So what is the use of this connection is if I give ls, I'll be able to browse the files on my victim machine. So these are the files on my victim machine. So let's go to my victim. Let's check whether I have INITRD, something like that. So here is my victim. Yes, I'm sorry. So here is this. You can see the list of files here on my victim machine, INITRD, lost plus found. So this says we are already logged into our victim machine. So from here on, we can perform transfer of files from our system to the victim machine. We can download files from the victim to our system. So what is that we understand from this small demonstration is we have got some basic commands about Metasploit, like searching for an exploit or a payload based on the type and the platform and the rank. And we have seen how to search for a specific vulnerability. See, we were scanning this vulnerable Linux machine. We used Nmap, which comes built in with Metasploit framework. I'm sorry for that. And once when we are able to identify an exploit, we got more information about that exploit. And then what we did, we were setting the options for that exploit. The required option is we have to set the remote host. Remote port number by default is 21. We are setting the payload. We are running the exploit. Thereby, a backdoor service was spawned and then a command shell session was established. So this command that we are given can also be considered as a payload because we are executing a set of commands. And these commands can be used for escalating privileges, transferring malwares, and this can be used for downloading files from the victim. So that's how Metasploit can be used for penetration testing. What are the steps? Gather information, identify the vulnerabilities, identify the exploits that can exploit the vulnerability, set the payload, exploit the system, and then you can go ahead with other modules too, like post-exploitation, which we'll see in the later sessions. I hope you're able to follow this brief overview of what Metasploit is all about, what are the modules, and some brief comments on Metasploit. Again, let me remind you, penetration testing on systems for which you don't have permission is a cybercrime. So be very wise when you're using such tools. Always try these things on an isolated network.